Welcome to The Awakened Mind, to co-creating and redesigning pathways to transform our societies as a collective. The question remains is why are we not able to solve many of the problems and challenges of the 21st century? Despite that technologically we are very advanced and despite that billions and billions of dollars are spent in solving these problems each year. In this specific YouTube video, I highlight 3 problematic worldviews that we have and which have made our social, our economic, and our educational systems dysfunctional. There are obviously more problematic worldviews, but I highlight 3 here. Now, because of these worldviews, we are unable to effectively deal with the challenges of our times, and which needs changing, which needs questioning. These are the hierarchical view that we have of the world, of organizations, of the way our systems and societies are structured, the Darwinistic view, and the dogmatism of science. So, as I mentioned in the introduction of my channel last week, our thinking, our perceptions, our beliefs, they shape our societies. They shape how we think as a collective, how we think as a community or as a nation. All of these problematic worldviews and beliefs have, in fact, shaped and structured our modern societies. Now, where did they come from? Whether we like it or not, our modern world, be it our social system, our education, or economic, they have all been shaped and dominated by the ideas, beliefs, and thinking of the Europeans. Now, through colonization. The Europeans, they influenced the thinking, they had deconstructed and then later reconstructed the systems in many countries of the world. Now, to give an example, one of the most influential thinkers who had shaped European societies was Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher and scientist. He proclaimed in 350 BC, before Christ, that women had fewer teeth than men. And believe it or not, for almost 2,000 years it was accepted wisdom in the Western world. Aristotle had a very inferior view of women, and he had structured her place solely inside the household and had also justified her exclusion from the political world. And because of these archaic beliefs about women, to this day, in the 21st century, women are still struggling to be accepted in her identity outside of the household. It is also said that the ancient Greeks were the first to suggest a geocentric view of the universe. This means that they believed that the Earth is at the center of the universe, with the sun and the planets that move around it. For more than 1400 years, this geocentric view of the universe had persisted because it validated the beliefs of the Catholic Church that if God created the earth, it obviously must be at the center of the universe. Now, for centuries, the church was not simply a religion and an institution. It was its culture, it was its way of life. So one would even be killed if they went against the beliefs and thinkings of the Catholic Church. Now, scientific thought and rational thinking, it took center stage during the age of the Enlightenment in Europe, which still dominates our global modern thinking. Ideas such as the constitution of government, separation of the state and the church or religion came about, and to this day it dominates the constitutional framework of more than 120 countries of the world. Now, the age of enlightenment and renaissance and the discovery of science is when Europeans woke up. They woke up from the grip and the clutches of the dogma of the Catholic Church, and they woke up to their individual freedom, which was marked by the period of the Renaissance. Unfortunately, however, they later fell strongly into the grip of extreme rationality to the point of obsession with it. Now, this extreme rationality has shaped and it has influenced the education systems in many former European and British colonies globally. And they are such in countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America. Many of these countries had age-old cultures and traditions and wisdom into the true nature of who we are as humans, but all of which were overshadowed by Western thinking patterns and systems. The ideas and views of Darwinism, such as competition and survival of the fittest, they actually structure our modern systems. Look at our economic systems and education systems globally. Both are based on competition. The person who is able to survive a dog-eats-dog world is rewarded monetarily. The person who gets the highest grade in schools is highly rewarded in society, and so on. But in a sense, humans are not built for competition. We are more suited for cooperation and compassion. That is our true essence as human beings. So if you look closely into nature, that's who we are, that's where we are from. There's an underlying cooperative and very symbiotic existence of plants and animals and insects, which obviously Darwin had overlooked, and yet whose work was considered one of the greatest in the Western world. According to one British physicist, he said that the theory of evolution became, in a sense, a scientific religion. Almost all scientists had accepted it, and many were prepared to bend their observations to fit with it. That's scary. Now, such extreme rational thinking to the extent of conformity can actually lead to ineffective decision making. When people rely too heavily on their rational thinking without using their gut feeling or their intuition, they're not open to new information or ideas. This can in fact lead to making decisions which are based on outdated information, on all assumptions, which can actually lead to more problems. In fact, it has led to many problems and limitations, and one of which has been caused our inability to resolve many of the challenges that we face today in the world in the 21st century. Here's an example, and it is cited by a Belgian author, Frédéric Laroux, in his book Reinventing Organizations. Don't we believe that we all have one brain? The dominant thinking in the medical community has been that the brain is the central part of the nervous system of the body, which keeps our body working, keeps it alive. But recently, as recent as about a decade and a half ago, they discovered that there are two other brains, the gut and the heart. Both has neurons and both are critical components of the autonomous nervous system. However, in 1860s, a German doctor had actually discovered the brain in the gut. Medical circles somehow forgot about the brain in the gut, and they continued to focus on the brain in the head. For about a century, they completely lost sight of the brain in the gut. It was only rediscovered in the late 1990s by an American neuroscientist. What took so long? How could medical circles forget the existence of a brain? Now, Frederick believes that it has to do with the belief systems of a time. We have a very hierarchical view of the world. According to this view, there can be only one brain in command, just as there must be a single boss at the head of every organization, or there must be one head of a nation or a family or an army. Now, having three autonomous brains working side by side can't be possible unless the belief is that the world needs clear hierarchies to function. Now, this view is very limiting, and it has led us to many problems than resolving our problems. So it is no coincidence that we discovered or rediscovered the other two brains at the same time as the internet became a dominant force in our lives. Now, the age of the internet, it has accelerated a new worldview. one that can contemplate the possibility of three brains, or distributed intelligence, or distributed decision making instead of top-down hierarchy. With this new worldview, we can now accommodate the idea that we have more than one brain, and that they can work together in shared intelligence. Today, in 2023, we are at the cusp of the old and the new worldview. A new worldview or a new paradigm is emerging. A non-hierarchical view of the world, that is. We are beginning to understand that we humans, we are not designed to compete against one another. Instead, cooperation is how we are going to thrive as a society. It is through shared intelligence that we will be able to deal with the challenges of our world. Now, in the new paradigm or in the new worldview, we are sensing that we are more than what we've been told by authority, by our teachers, by our parents, our governments, and our church. Greg Braden, an American New Age author, writes, "When we ask, who are we? The short answer is that we are not what we've been told. We are more than most of us have ever imagined to be." Thank you for listening to the episodes of The Awakened Mind, and welcome to co-creating and redesigning pathways to transform our societies as a collective. And see you soon.